Aloha, good morning. It's Thursday morning and we started work today at 3:30. We bought a couple of container loads of, this is mostly spices, and then we took a load of mayonnaise over to the satellite warehouses over on the other side. But this is the big grocery store distribution warehouse where they do lots and lots of freight. That's a day's worth of pallets right there. Well, we came in this morning at 3:30. We checked in with our setup and they had 8 container movements sitting there waiting for me. So far we've done 2. And it's 6 o'clock and the sun's coming up. So our next one is some used appliances headed to, I think, Samoa or Tonga. See if I got this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. But I'm thinking it's time for a second cup of coffee. So we'll take a quick morning break, enjoy a coffee and maybe a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Then we're going to head up to Wahiawa to the used appliance company that we work with, and I'll pick up that can. It's full. Take it to the shipping terminal, Sand Island, right through the heart of rush hour traffic. So that'll be our next one. But yeah, for now we're just going to enjoy the sunrise. .38. Worst time to be on the freeway headed into town at 7 o'clock. But there was an accident earlier this morning. It's backed up the traffic. So we just came out of the Campbell Industrial area. We're headed up to Wahiawa to the used appliance shop to pick up a full container. But we got to deal with this rush hour traffic this morning, which gives me time to answer a couple of questions I received in the last week. One came personally. I was doing some work at night with one of our new drivers. So he's like half my age. He reminds me of me when I first started out driving here in Hawaii. He was asking me, you know, is it better now than it was back then, or was it easier back then than it is now? Because, you know, 1 year to retirement, I pretty much accomplished the goals that I wanted to, and he was asking me, you know, what should be the goal, and do I think he could accomplish it? You know, things change so much that it can't happen, and I didn't believe I could do it back when I first came to Hawaii. When I first came to Hawaii, now this is 1978, I was 27 years old. I had $700 in my pocket and a girlfriend. He's a little bit older and kind of in the same situation. At that time, I was making $5 an hour. Average rent was $500 a room. $5 an hour. Average rent was $500 a room. So if you had like a 3-bedroom, the rent was between 250. That can't be right. Yeah, between 150 and 250 was a 3-bedroom. I think we rented a 2-bedroom, if I can remember right. 2-bedroom back then was, I'll say $250, but it was a nice place. My friend and I rented, so there were 4 of us sharing $250. Sounds about right. But again, we're making $5 an hour. And so now you're making, you know, twice that at least. I mean, I think the average person starts off at over $20 an hour, and things cost, you know, 4 times as much. So I don't think it has changed that much. I felt back then there's no way I would get ahead. So these are the principles I kind of stuck to through the last 40 years of work. You know, I grew up, you know, with way more energy than I knew what to do with. I was constantly getting into trouble as a young kid. My mom kind of focused me on work, you know. She said, and I like to work because work is how you make money. I remember being so upset when I found out that you could not work legally under the age of 14. That was super upsetting to me when I was like in my 11, 12, 13-year-old. That it was against the law to employ somebody under the age of 14. And that just stands out. I remember that, you know, hating that. And so I always had a pretty good work ethic. I learned at an early age that, you know, there's 24 hours in a day. If you divide it by 8, you come up with 3 plans of action. So I've always slept 8 hours, worked 8 hours, and played 8 hours. And I don't mind doing that 7 days a week. So if you're working 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, that's 56 hours. My goal was always work 56 hours, get paid for 56 hours a week. And I've had that goal from high school days. And so that was one thing. Now, I learned later on some statistic that said when you get to my age, 65, there's like a 95 to 98% chance you're going to be dead or broke. Dead meaning you're dead, and broke meaning that you haven't saved anything and you're going to basically live off your Social Security. And so you're at the will of whatever you can afford, basically. And so the question would be, well, what about the 5% or the 2% that aren't broke? What do they do that's different? And the answer was 2 things, basically, or 3 things. I think the answer was 3 things. Number 1 was they save their money. Broke people don't save money. Number 2 was they worked harder than the normal person. And the average person works a 40-hour week. My mindset was 56 hours a week. So I thought I was on the right track. So you work hard and you save your money. And then the third thing that somebody added to that one day that I thought was cool was that you have to treat money like your wife or girlfriend or significant other. I think the saying goes, you need to treat money like a mistress. Meaning, if you don't pay attention to money, it'll leave you and go find somebody who does pay attention. And so if you want to create wealth, you have to pay attention. And so that's basically what I was telling my younger self the other night. Now the other question I got the other day was, I basically invest in real estate, stock market, and bonds. So with real estate, stock market, bonds, and I dabble in other things over the years. But those are the 3 basics. And so the question was, what am I doing with my stocks? And I'm not doing anything now. I've basically taken most of my money out of stocks. and put it into a savings account, a money market account. So it's earning like, well, it was earning 5%, but it's probably less than that now that they cut the interest rates. So that's where most of my stock market money was. So I had two areas in the stock market. I had one with my 401k, and that was in an aggressive style of savings. 401k, so these are ETFs, exchange traded funds, or different types of funds that are set up within the 401k. And I was always a 40, 30, 10, 10, 10. So 40 would be like large cap, 30 would be large cap growth, and then 10 would be small cap growth, and then 10 international. And so that's a pretty aggressive stance. And I moved it around, but that 401k was always in funds. And I didn't pay attention to it too much, my wife did. When I started my IRAs, I was into stocks. And now, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just telling you what I did. Don't think that I did the right thing. I made tons of mistakes throughout my life. And I try to learn from them. And that's probably the one thing I can tell you. Is like, go ahead and just do something to make a mistake and try to learn from it. But when it came to the stock market, I invested in anything that I spent money on. So, to give you an example, I bought a GMC truck way back when I was in the stock market. So I invested in General Motors. I do most of my shopping at Costco, so I invested in Costco. My mortgage was through, it's Wells Fargo today, but back then it was something else. I can't remember right now. Let's just say Wells Fargo. So when I invested in Chevrolet. Places where I actually spent my dollars is where I would invest. And back then I invested in way too many places. I learned afterwards that you want to invest correctly. Again, you got to pay attention to your money. You need to be willing to invest an hour of time for every stock market that you have a position on. So if you have a position on Costco, you'll spend 1 hour a week paying attention to what Costco is doing. Are they growing? What are they planning? Who's competing with them? Maybe you shouldn't be in with Costco. Maybe you should be over at Sam's Club or, Tractor Supply or someplace like that. Look what the competition is doing. Maybe you should be in. But that's kind of how I invested. And then I learned after a while, there's different what's the term? There's different areas in the stock market, such as there's services, there's utilities, there's industrials. What do they call those divisions? I can't think of it right off. It'll come. And so you try not to have all your eggs in one basket. And so eventually I got it down to like 3 or 4 stocks, and I'd hold 3 or 4 different positions on each one of those stocks. And I would swing trade. So when the market was up, I would sell it. When the market goes down, I would buy it. And I just buy and sell, buy and sell. And I was pretty involved for probably about 10 years. For the last 10 years, not so much. So that's basically my stock market picks would be anything I invested money, anything I spent money on. So now you got to pay attention to where you spend your money, especially the large chunks of money. Where is that being spent? And I invest in those companies. That was just my plan. As to how well it did, I have no idea. It worked for me. We're still in traffic. I'm trying to make my way down to Kamehameha Highway. I'm going to take Kamehameha Highway up to Wahiwa. I could try to take the H3, but that would mean getting all the way over to the left side. busy talking. I haven't been up Columbia Bay Highway in a while, so it'll be a nice drive. Because there's no reason to rush. You're only going to get stuck in this one. Once we make our pickup, we got to turn right around and get back into this rush hour traffic. But yeah, if that helps anybody, good. If not, you know, you're not too smart taking financial advice from a truck driver, I think. But it gives you something to think about. Pay attention to money. Don't be afraid to work hard. And the wealthy, their biggest thing that they do that the poor don't is that they save their money. And I also heard that one of the most powerful things on earth is that your association is what you are. In other words, you become that which you hang around. So if you hang around broke people, you end up broke. Doesn't mean they're not good people. Doesn't mean, I mean, most of my family is broke. they're all pretty good people. But yeah, it's a hard lesson. That association is the most powerful thing in your life. So pay attention to it. Anyway, making our way through the traffic here. Hello, so we dropped the corner console above telling you like. So we just finished up load 4. We brought over a full 20-foot container full of consolidated freight going to Kona. One of the nicest view of the harbors here. I would call it multi-million-dollar real estate used for storing chassis. Yeah, when I first started driving, all these piers were covered piers. They had big warehouses on top of them. It's a little bit different back then. But as it got more and more busy, the warehouses got in the way. So now there's, I think, only one warehouse left, and it's way down at Pier 1. Fine. I might, yeah. I think there's one over, I don't know. No, I think they took it down. Yeah, but all the piers had warehouses on them back then. I don't think, is there anyone left? No, just the one down at Pier 1 where the homeless shelter is. So we're halfway, we're gonna have lunch. We got 4 down, 4 to go. Food. Pick up from the shipping terminal, going back to our terminal, be warehoused. So, industrial equipment being shipped back to the Korea, I think it is. And then a load of appliances going to the distribution warehouse. We're just gonna make our way back towards our terminal and have some lunch. So working on our 5th movement of the day, a load of food coming down to a food distributor. We're down here by the area that floods every time we have a king tide. This is salt water, that's sea level basically right now. This whole industrial area down here was built on a marshland, so it's just barely above sea level. I read a book about Dillingham, who built the some of the first railroads here in Hawaii. So this is before the automobile. And they put in a narrow gauge railroad. And this section, just outside of the city of Honolulu, was probably one of the more difficult sections they had to deal with as far as raising the land up and making it so you could put a railroad on. So normally we would spin around and back in here to the food bank, but we don't have the room. So what do they call this? A K-turn when you do this? People coming out of the bookings. Goodwill's driveway. Oh, and there's a truck inside the dock already. Yeah, I thought we were a little late for this delivery. Normally we should be here before 9. We'll go let them know we're here. See what they say. Sometimes they refuse the load. We'll find out. So it's 11:46. Working on our 7th movement of the day. Full 40-foot container loaded down with machinery. Actually, I think it's like transformers. It's being shipped back to South Korea. So we're down here at the International Shipping Terminal, International Shipping Terminal, Pier 1. Gotta get this stripped off, and then we'll head over and look for a full container load of appliances. Probably coming in from South Korea. Brakes are released. Come on. Let's try an interlock. There we go. Heavy can. He took the can off the chassis and the wheels just started spinning. So now we gotta look for a full container somewhere in the yard here. Kind of a treasure hunt. 489184. A brown can, but not necessarily. the clerks. Get this out gated. It's going to a great big distribution warehouse in the Pearl City area. It's about a 15-mile drive, maybe. Not less than that, 14 miles. This will be our 8th movement. That's it. Shut it down. 10 minutes to 4. It just got too crazy. I think the official holiday rush has started because we farmed out a lot of work today, and I still got runs that never got done. But we came in at 3:30. We drove 168 miles. We did 13 container movements. The toughest one was that appliance, the used appliances. That run just got stuck right in the middle of all the rush hour traffic. It took over 2.5 hours to do that one run just because of traffic. But other than that, we worked from sunup until the shipping terminals closed and shut us down. Gonna head on home, make a pot of rice, make a salad. I got beans already made, and we'll probably cook up some mahi fillets. That's what I'm planning. I'm feeling pretty hungry. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Aloha.